Hello, hello, welcome. Just going to go live here on Instagram as well. Make sure that we are all set up in all the places. Okay, I think you guys can see me over here on Insta as well. Happy Monday, happy 11/11. I read it is a crazy day in the cosmos today. Apparently it is the article said it's the #1 day of the year to manifest. So if you are joining us, and I did not know this when I essentially decided to run the class today and to run this event, which is the Love Letters Initiative that we are participating in this week in my community. If you don't know about this or you haven't heard about this, you can still join us. It's bit.ly/loveletters2019. Hey everyone on Instagram, welcome. I know you guys can sort of see me half, sort of doing the whole Facebook, Insta double whammy. And so as we are waiting for people to join here, I'm actually going to quickly just share on a couple of my pages, and I invite you also to share if you find that this might be a really valuable class for anyone in your community or on your friends list. I'm just going to take a quick peek to see where I can share this with everyone else. Nope, that's not what I want. Just bear with me while I figure out the tech of all of this. And really, as we are waiting here for people to join, I know Facebook, it takes a little bit longer. Just drop an emoji. Let me know how you are feeling today. And I do want to mention that what I really plan to do is to focus primarily on content today. So normally when I teach classes, I usually teach them on Zoom, but I'm playing with doing this on Facebook Live. With that said, I will be focusing more on teaching and less on reading the comments live in the moment. With that said, I would love for you to still leave comments, and we will hopefully get to some Q&A at the very end. And even if we don't get to any Q&A, if somehow we run out of time, I'll make sure to answer your questions in the comments as they come in. This is both for Instagram and Facebook. So wave if you're on Instagram, send me an emoji, let me know how you're feeling. With Facebook, you know, it's always so strange. Like, I love teaching to like in-person people. And so online, it's always like, who am I talking to really? So I want to say hi to all the people on Insta, and I've got someone on Facebook too, but it's not really popping up who it is. I want to try one last thing real quick before we dive into the content to see, for some reason, I'm not so clear on how to share this with my other page. Hey Bria, if you know, apparently I think people who follow me or in my community can also share it. If you can share that to the Embody community, that would be awesome. And I'm gonna get us started here. Also, I want to say that if you are sharing this, or if you find the content gets juicier and juicier and you want to share this with your friends, we are essentially dropping you into a giveaway automatically if you share this on your page or with your community. We're running a giveaway all week long where if you sign up for the event or you sign up, if you sign up for the event or you share this today, with each thing you get an additional entry into the giveaway when we've got all these prizes up to, like, you know, $3.99, coaching with me and a whole bunch of other stuff, Embody at Home classes. Okay, so let's dive in. Reclaiming your truth. That is what today is about. And, sometimes reclaiming your truth can feel like such a big, an overwhelming statement, right? And concept, like reclaiming our truth. And yet it's sort of funny if you think about it, because it's your truth. So it's your essence. It's who you already are. And yet here we are, right, in this day and age, in this chapter of humanity where it's actually really hard. It's nearly the hardest work to do. The hardest work in the world is to just be yourself, right? Drop me an emoji if you agree. Or just say hi. Hi, hi. I love everyone interacting with me. Thank you. Thank you. It's helped so much. Me not feeling I'm just talking to myself. So we are really, thank you so much, Bria, for sharing that. So we are really in this place where we have to actively work to remember our essence. We have to actively work to strip away all the messages, the static, the noise that really stops us from hearing our body's wisdom, our intuition, and stops us from living a life that is really heart-led, right? And this ultimately is the work that I do with my clients, and it's what we're doing this week in the Love Letters Initiative. And so I have my notes because I like them. So I've got a class prepared for you guys on, how we can reclaim that truth using the framework of these love letters, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But before I dive in, I really just want to get clear on whether this is the place for you. So I want you to get clear on, should I spend an hour on Facebook Live? Because I'm sure you guys have got lots of other options, right? And so I appreciate all of you who are tuned in. But I really want to make sure that this is going to be helpful to you. And so we're going to take a little quiz, since we are in the energy of like love letter writing, which I don't know about you guys, but for me, like writing love letters makes me think of like early teens, it takes me back. And it's sort of, the time that we were also sort of taking Cosmo quizzes. So in the spirit, and maybe some of you didn't take Cosmo quizzes, but in the spirit of that, we're going to take a little quiz so you can really get a sense of like, is this a place for me to stay? Should I really invest my hour, in this session with Nadia or not? And the only difference here is that we are grown-ass women now, and we are essentially flipping all the Cosmo messages on their head. And we are reclaiming our connection to our body, our connection to our inner little girl, and our relationship to the masculine, which I'll get into in a minute. Okay, so if you want to, you can grab a paper and pen and tally, but you really don't need to, because essentially, as long as you answer yes to one of these, you're pretty much set to be you're in the right place, right? And if you, for whatever reason, don't have the hour, or you've just got you've got a hot date Monday night, then you can always head over, even right now, to bit.ly/loveletters2019 to sign up for love letter writing with us for the rest of the week. And in fact, I'm going to type it in real quick just so that you guys get this as well, and you can just hop on over if you don't have time to stick around. All right, so it's in the comments. I think I got it right. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So let's talk about a few things. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Candace. I'm not going to be able to say hi to everyone. I'm going to really dive into the content here, but I mentioned this at the beginning, and I want to mention it again before we dive in more. If you have questions, please post them in the comments. I won't be answering them in the moment because I want to just go into the content and really be focused. However, I will try to make some time at the very end to address that. And if for some reason we run out, we're going for the entire hour around, then I will make sure to answer it in the comments later on. After the Facebook Live. Okay, so let's talk about our relationship to our bodies, which we all know is a complicated one, right? So ask yourself this: how often do you feel constrained by sort of the ifs, the shoulds, the buts in connection to your body? Is this a yes or is it a no? Do you feel that you are often constrained by the ifs, shoulds, and buts? Do you find that you often essentially sort of like manage your body instead of really come from a place of loving her? And we'll really elaborate on what that means. Do you find yourself sort of thinking like, oh, I got to get to the gym so that I can optimize this, so that I can do that, so that I can then be productive, right? Which is very different than embodiment practices, which we'll get into in a little. Or do you ever, this is a big one, do you ever allow yourself to worship your body the way that you would a lover's? How often do we really enjoy someone else's body? Ooh, that feels soft. Those ridges, oh, those muscles, right? And yet, how often do we do that to ourselves? So do you allow yourself to worship your own body the same way you would a lover's? Okay, moving on. Question about, hi, Julia. Question about, okay, so some questions about the masculine and our relationship to the masculine, which is a little, I'm going to get into sort of the intricacies of what that actually means, because it can go in two different ways. But are you still like aching and really feeling rage, essentially, around betrayals that have happened to you in the past, boundary perforations, or perhaps you don't feel those aches because you've compartmentalized that into a place where you're like, I'm just not even going to deal with that. I know that was me for a really long time, right? Let me know if any of these resonate with you. If any one of these are resonating with you, give me a like, that hell yeah emoji, or like a yes in the comments. Let me know. Make sure that I've got the right people here in the right place. Do you dream about the day that you feel truly met by someone else in your life? And I don't mean like a business partner. This is romantically. Or on the flip side, does structure feel sort of suffocating or like sort of like a dictatorship to you? Oh, yeah, we've got some hand raising over here. Got hand raising on, got a amen, or whatever this one is. Raise the roof over on Instagram. So does structure feel suffocating to you in your life? Let me know if it's a yes or a no. Or, I get a lot of like, oh, but I just want to be in my flow, Nadia. It's just so constricting and just got to do my thing, And it's like, to like having structure. Or with regards to our connection to our inner little girl, right? The younger version of ourselves, the part of us that is this just like the raw, innocent, unabashedly loving heart that is us, which sometimes is a tantrum, right? Like, because that's how kids do it. And sometimes it's just pure skipping through the fields. So do you have a hard time expressing your desires without feeling like fear or shame or some sort of sense of like, something's going to happen. It doesn't feel safe, Does play feel unproductive for you? Love structure sometimes too much. Yes, I've got those people too. I'm a structure girl. And also we'll get into that in a minute, but there's a lot there. And do you often feel, this is sort of the last one here, do you make decisions or feel like there's sort of like an external, like you outsource your happiness or you outsource your state of being, right? Where how you feel and how you can function is very dependent on what's going on around you, on how someone else's state is, right? And it's much harder for you. You really dream about being able to like find just like peace and ease and safety in your own nervous system and your own self, right? So today's class here, Reclaiming Our Truth, is really kicking off this event, the Love Letters Initiative. And what we're doing in the Love Letters Initiative is we are writing 3 love letters that will change your life. And so today, during our session, what we're going to go over is essentially these 3 key relationships that we need to heal to reclaim our truth. And these are obviously directly related or directly inspired the 3 love letters that we are writing this week. And then I'll also be offering exercises that I'll only offer here in this class. So we will not necessarily be getting into that if you are signed up for the emails that come for the Love Letters Initiative. So there's particular exercises just here. So if you are already signed up for the Love Letters Initiative, and if you're not, get your booty over to bit.ly/Love Letters 2019. But essentially, there's going to be some stuff here that you also won't get over there. So if you're interested, and this is all speaking to you, if you said yes to any of those questions, if you said yes to like 3 of them, then this is definitely the place for you. If you said yes to all of them, then like literally let go of everything else and sit down and be with us. Because this is the place for you. Okay, what else are we going to do? We're going to get clear on why this is actually the most potent practice, right? You can do this entire week because, you know, I don't want to waste your time. Like we are inundated by so much information these days. I've got 101 things to do as well. Like I'm just like you, right? I only create events when they come to me from a place of this must happen. And for this event, there was really this vision of a tapestry of love letters coming together so that we can really come back to a place of love. Like this is our essence, right? And ultimately, at the very end, you know, we'll just talk a little bit about how creating structure for your practice can help so that you can do this successfully. Because so often I know a lot of us will sign up for these events and then, listen, I'm guilty of it. And if I don't schedule it, sort of similar to my yoga classes or to any other practices that I'm putting into place that are new, I have to block them out in the calendar. And I try to make this event as simple as possible and as potent. So it's like the difference between, you know, green juicing and taking those little like ginger shots at the store, you know, where you're like, oh, okay, my immunity is good for like 5 days. So these are little potent shots here. So if you are joining me and you don't know who I am, if this is your first time, hi, I'm Nadia. I am a women's embodiment coach. I help guide women back to sensual nourishment and embodied power. And I've really worked with thousands of women around the world to deepen their connection to their bodies, to build trust with their feminine wisdom, and really to feel more empowered in their sensuality. I'm also the creator and the trainer of Embody, which is a movement therapy class that helps women explore their relationship to pleasure, power, and play. And in a way, these 3 love letters that we'll be writing this week are actually directly, like you can sort of put them in the buckets of pleasure, power, and play as well. And we have 22 teachers at the moment globally. And really, we've taught over about 200 classes in over 25 cities with over 2,000 women that we have reached so far, including just a few days ago, the biggest embodied class ever, about 300 women or so at the Health Coach Institute. And we're also currently running a class in the UK at a women's prison that happens, I believe, once a month. One of my teachers teaches there. I don't remember the frequency. So as you can tell, I'm super passionate about, you know, women reclaiming their truth and their expression through embodiment, and sitting down to really get clear on what are these relationships that we need to heal is sort of step 1 to that. And for those of you who know me, know that I love me a good playlist. And of course, there's no event that I'll run where there's no playlist. And so part of the love letter writing includes, when you sign up, it includes you getting some playlists that can help you move your way into creativity, into flow, into writing these letters, and can also conjure up some of the emotions that might be connected that maybe are a little bit harder to reach. You know, sometimes we just sit down to write and it's just like, there's this like blank sheet of paper in front of us, or in our case, it's a Google Doc, right? And we're like, where do I even start, right? Where do I even start? And so all of that is part of the event. This event's totally free. I didn't mention that yet. 100% from my heart to yours. Okay, so reclaiming our truth. I mean, listen, if we were all walking around like feeling ourselves, like, imagine we all were like, we were just like a species that was walking around and being like, I'm so delicious. Oh yeah, I'm picking up this broccoli and I feel good, right? Like if that were happening, and if we were like connecting to our hearts every day and waking up and just being like, breathing in and taking 5 minutes to really feel, what's going on inside, to connect with your inner little girl, like, hey, sweet baby girl, like, how are you feeling today, right? Or if we were really familiar with our nervous system and exactly how it functions, how we self-regulate, how we co-regulate, and like if we were doing all these things, then we wouldn't need these practices, but we're not doing all these things, which is why I'm running this event. This is why I'm in business, and my coaching practice is essentially close to full at the moment, right? Like we're really not actively looking at all the different places that we are either disconnecting or where we still feel a lot of pain around. And what we'll be primarily diving into here is sort of like 3 different messages, or 3 different themes, one with the body, one with the inner little girl, and one with our relationship to the masculine. So let's talk about the body first, shall we? I'm going to try to attempt to reach for my water for a second. Let's see if it happens. I'm not in my home, as you can tell. Well, for those of you who know me. So my setup is a little strange, and I'm in like a really big computer chair that is not very feminine and not a choice I would make, but it is comfortable. Okay, so let's talk about the body, shall we? Who wants to talk about the body? Just want to check in with you guys, see how everyone's doing. Yes, playlist. Everyone likes a playlist. I know. I mean, life is just better with a playlist. Like, think about it. Groceries, the most mundane thing in the world. Way better when you're listening to music. Okay, so let's talk about the body. So the main thing with the body that's come up over and over and over again I've worked essentially with women's bodies in some shape or form for now at least 10 years. And so the number one, I guess, message that comes up over and over again in diet culture, in the patriarchy, even with capitalism, right, in this like world of hustle, go, 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 is one where we are essentially constantly being asked to manage our body instead of love her. And so what is the difference there? I want to tell you a little story about a client of mine. And P.S. I have so many of these. It could be like any client, really. But there's one client in particular who at some point, when we first started working together, I asked her like what embodiment practices she has or what she does with her body. We're just sort of taking inventory for her. And, she did a lot of things physically speaking, right? She just like kept in shape and went to the gym and did her Pilates or whatever it was. And what we realized when we dove in was that essentially she did a lot of things with her physical body, but that doesn't necessarily mean she did them embodied. Very different. And this is the case for a lot of us. We do a lot of things that are like with our bodies. We're like, well, I'm embodied. I go to blah, blah, blah class and I do this and that. And I go to the gym every day at 5 a.m. And it's like, okay, that's great. No one's saying you shouldn't do that. And are you present when you are doing that? Are you actually in your sensual body? And so when we dug in to see, well, what is the intention behind her being physically in her body or physically doing these things? And it was really to optimize essentially like a vessel or a machine for productivity, and also to manage her body, right? Like how often like diet culture is like chisel this, Sharpie that, readjust this, right? And so what I did is I offered her a practice, which I want to offer to you all here on the call today, call session, I don't even know what to call this, is the idea of like a touch shower, an AM touch shower. So similar to, we have the routine of taking a shower, hopefully, perhaps. this is a touch shower for yourself. And so what I like, this is like, because it take 30 seconds, guys. And take 30 seconds, and there's really no excuse not to do it if it's 30 seconds. You can also take 30 minutes if you want, but it will take literally just 30 seconds if you want to get started. And that is like waking up in the morning. You can still be horizontal, and all you're essentially doing is bringing your hands from the top of your head, and you're slowly taking a trip down your body. Now you might take the trip down your body by just sort of like tapping on your, you know, your skin, feel your nerve endings, like start to wake up your skin here. This is just really, really fun, and just starts to get the blood flowing, right? It could be like a celebratory and a claiming touch if you're feeling extra juicy. It could be like a massaging or a healing, like an energetic healing, like Reiki style touch. There's so many options here. And this is something that I initially learned, and was such a big tool that I took away from Sheila Kelly S Factor, which is Sensual Movement, that I'm certified in, that I've been teaching for about 10 years. And this was like one of the most beautiful and healing things that I've sort of adapted, that when I first experienced, changed my life, to really touch my own body and experience my own body through my palms. This is also something that we do a lot in sort of somatic therapies as a whole. One of like, what does it feel like to actually be your body? Okay, so what is taking on the perspective of being your body, feeling your palms and your fingers, you know, the texture, the warmth, like what does it actually feel like to receive the warmth and the touch and the love of your palms? And then you shift perspectives. What is it like to be your palms, actually exploring your body and feeling the textures and the temperatures of your body here, right? Two different perspectives, but just taking like 30 seconds to do even that is such a beautiful way to establish a connection to your body in the morning. And similar to you, you know, if you actually had a person next to you in bed, you ain't going to roll out of bed unless they're sleeping. You're not going to roll out of bed and not say good morning to them. And this is like saying good morning to your body, which is actually your partner for the day and your partner for life, right? You come in with it, you leave with her. Okay. So once this client started to do that, right, her life really changed, and there was this connection, this relationship that was forged between her and her body, which essentially created more space to have a pleasure-filled day and a pleasure-filled life. And sometimes we want to overcomplicate things, and it's actually really, really, really simple. Okay, number 2. Let's talk a little bit about our inner little girl. Now, you may have heard about this concept of your inner child or your inner little girl. This might be your first time hearing about it, but really what matters is some basic, I'm just going to take us back to our childhood for a moment. So many of us, when we are young, okay, well, let me actually rephrase that. Many of us right now are still looking for love and equating love to survival the same way that we did when we were kids. So oftentimes when you think, if you're someone who feels like you're constantly sort of outsourcing or looking outward to feel safe or to feel loved or to feel at ease, right? Or to feel just like regulated, essentially. This is an old mechanism that has existed. It's existed in everyone, by the way, and it's been around since you were a kid. And it's been around since you were a kid because when we are children, our nervous system equates love to survival. So if you think about it, when you are in the first few years of life, right? Like you can't bathe yourself, you can't feed yourself, you can't shelter yourself. And so literally getting love from the caregivers that you have is equated to survival. And so obviously when we grow up and we can do all these things for ourselves, this no longer applies. And what happens is, even though it doesn't apply anymore, we still have this programming inside of us, and in a way that is a form of codependence or a form of really losing our sovereignty and our truth to the outside environment. And so what we have to do is we have to, as adults, come back and essentially mother ourselves. And to mother yourself, you have to know your kid, right? Which is your inner little girl. So it's quite important to be able to connect to this part of yourself. And so, for example, I had a client, and again, this is sort of a profile that applies to everyone who, came to work with me on her relationship. And, she came and she was feeling super hopeless. Let me get that water again. A little something in my throat. And, over time, as we dug deeper, essentially it turned out that it was really just her, experiencing what her partner would say or do as a threat to her safety, as a threat to her survival, right? And so, when we have this experience, and, if this feels familiar to you, I know it was for me and continues to be an area that I work on a lot. Again, let me know in the comments. But essentially, what happens is we start to have everything in our own system depend on how this other person is responding. And that doesn't really work great, right? It's actually very detrimental to our relationships, and it's really detrimental to our own ability to step into our full power and our full potential. And so the exercise I had given her was to essentially take some time every day. So you just set the alarm of your phone and you decide on, the number of minutes that you want to do this. Excuse me, guys. Still have that thing in my throat. And essentially what you do is you just put your hand on your heart. Again, none of these, here's the thing with embodiment exercises, none of it is crazy. It's all very, very simple. That in itself is a separate class as to why it is this simple, but it's actually a part of our brain that doesn't understand complicated concepts and language and only understands breath and movement and very basic like sounds and things like that. And that's how we alchemize and change the energy of our state of our nervous system. But again, that's a whole nother class. But essentially, all these practices are super simple because of that, because the part of our brain that's responsible for survival is very simple and is super, super primal and very old, and therefore was pre-verbal. So it was before we actually developed language. And so the language it speaks is one of breath, movement, sound, and tears, essentially. So hand on your heart, and then you just, you start to imagine a younger version of yourself. And maybe you want to do this. We can even do this together for a moment here. So just taking a deep breath into your belly, into your heart. And exhale, perhaps making a sound, just allowing your shoulders to relax away from your ears, and just taking a moment to imagine a younger version of yourself, maybe at the age of 4 or 5. And just start to notice what she might be wearing, how her hair looks like, how she's looking up at you from below, and just what she might want to share with you here. And just connect to her essence, her energy. Notice, what is the emotion in her body? Is she, with children, there's no filters. Like, is she incredibly blissed out and excited and joyful and wants to skip around? Is she really scared and looking up at you and wanting protection? Or maybe she's just feeling silly and wild and just wants to be messy and she wants a partner in crime, right? So just notice what it is that might be coming up as you connect with her. And there's nothing that you need to do here other than hear her. That's it for now, right? Obviously, we can go way deeper if we were doing one-on-one work together, but this is the beginning of the practice. I mean, it took quite a few years of me just doing that followed by many tears that I didn't get to shed earlier on in life. That was one of the most profound exercises that I was doing and practices. And so once this client started to implement this, you can do this again. It's the sort of thing you can do for 30 seconds. Just ask yourself the question. You can do it for 30 minutes, up to you. And, you know, when she did, now she's really able to identify the triggers more and is able to self-regulate. And we have more, you know, tools that we worked on to really get her to address this scared inner little girl in her that has been so far the reaction to her partner's, you know, different responses to things. And really, the more you feel safe, the more that you can exhale. The more that you can exhale, the more that you can show up as your truth in the world, the more that you can really reclaim that essence of who you are. And that's what I want. That's what I want for you, and I imagine that's what you want for yourself, right? So let's talk about the masculine. And for anyone who is joining in, I left the masculine till the end because it's a big one, guys. I mean, all of them are big. All of them are big. And these are all relationships that I have been working on myself, and as a result have been guiding women, you know, in healing for, again, the last 10 years or so in different capacities. And so if you are just joining, this class here is part of a kickoff for the Love Letters Initiative, which we are running this week. And you can sign up at bit.ly/Love Letters 2019. It's also in the comments, the link. And part of signing up will also get you the recording of this. So if you're hopping on and you're like, oh no, I missed the first half, you can either just come back to my page and watch it later, or you can also just get that link and also get all the prompts, which include, there's going to be videos, there's playlists for every day, and there's journaling prompts all in the emails, and you just get one email a day. And I truly, truly believe that these practices of writing love letters will have a huge ripple effect in the world around us. So the masculine. It's a big one, guys. You know, earlier this year, I ran Trusting Our Men Again. This has been on my mind a lot. I've been exploring and working with so many women to really heal their relationship to masculine. And for this one, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my own journey here. You know, for so many years, I walked around with really unprocessed anger or rage, so I say, from countless incidents, you know, where my body boundaries were essentially overlooked, and the sacredness of my body wasn't really heard. And my no's, or my, like, I'm not really sure, right, weren't respected or honored. And that rage really festered in my body as like teeth grinding and like tension in my hips and pain in my pelvis. And it really wasn't until I began to examine a lot of these offenses and move them through my body with free-flowing movement that I was able to start to like really dislodge them from my fascia and my muscles, and essentially, like, you know, dissolve them out of my cells. And in addition, as women, you know, we really hold in our bodies not only our own experience, so whatever incidents we have growing up, but also, and that we continue to have, unfortunately, but it's also the offenses that were perpetrated on the bodies of our mothers and our grandmothers. And this is just the piece that science so far has figured out and proven, right? That we really have this trauma essentially that is passed down through our epigenetics into ours. So not only do we have all the boundaries that were, you know, penetrated in our own lives, but also that's like the icing on the cake on top of also the genetics that we get already in our bodies. You know, my hips have been tight like since I was a kid, And that's because my mom's hips were tight, you know, and probably her mom's hips were tight. It's like, well, you know, it's just like tightening and tightening and more tightening. So it isn't always just about what's happened in your, you know, your timeline, but also backwards. And so also, this means that by us doing this work, we are really like doing the heavy lifting for many, many, many generations. Now, through the movement, I was really able to alchemize that rage and dissolve it, like I said, out of my muscles, out of my cells, out of my energetic system through what we had talked about, you know, movement, tears, sound, and breath. And so for the masculine, we have to rage for our own liberation. We have to stomp for our sacredness. We have to push into our muscles for the sake of all the women that came before us and the women that will come after us. And the place to start here, because it's a big one, the place to start here is with just taking a moment to think about one place where it might be one incident with one man in your life, or it might be a totally different route. It might be connected to how the patriarchy sort of like fed us a version of toxic masculinity that also happened through structures, through systems. Like it's not just through people, right? And how, you know, the shadow side of that masculinity, you know, was one that is really like sort of like silencing and restricting. And so step one is really to sit down and think about one betrayal or one moment with the masculine that you, whether it's a man in your life again, or a relationship to structure, that you are ready to examine. This is part of what we will do throughout the week, right? What is one place that you are ready? So maybe there's been that one incident that you did not want to address. Maybe there's been, I know for me, I'll share, I had this totally like blind spot epiphany this year about how I saw my business as the sort of patriarchal dictatorship, right? Total blind spot, didn't realize it. I mean, here I am working with femininity and sensuality and all these like amazing, you know, women, and yet still the structures and the whole concept of online business felt like a patriarchal dictatorship. And I had to really look and examine, oh, what is my relationship to structures and to masculinity, not just through the men in my life, but really this deep wounding that I had around this piece, around the patriarchy in systems, in structures. And from there, I had to rebirth my motivation and my way of systems, really creating systems and structures in my business, to one where I really imagined my business instead of this sort of like dictator. I wrote a post about this a few months ago, a hot zouk dancer. I was like, ooh, that's the sort of like masculine energy where he's leading me, but we don't really know where the flow begins and ends. For those of you who know zouk, it's really awesome. And you sometimes can't tell who's following and who's leading. And that's really what I wanted, actually. And so I had to redefine my relationship. So the relationship to the masculine isn't necessarily, you know, I mean, for a lot of us, it is going to be about looking at a particular situation with a particular man, whether it's our own father, whether it's a partner we've had, but also it could just be masculine energy and masculine structures and systems as a whole. Okay, let me look and see what else I want to talk to you guys about. So all of this stuff is what we're going to dive deeper into with the Love Letters Initiative, right? So in this event, you'll really get a chance to, I really think about it as like 3 letters, 3 hours this week. And that can really be the beginning of transforming your life and of healing, at least beginning the journey of healing your relationship, because obviously not going to happen with one letter. But the idea is to start to open Pandora's box, to open the door, because so often we don't really want to do it alone. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's going to come out of there. It's sort of like a closet that you've shoved a bunch of shit into, and you're just like, I don't want to open it because shit's going to come down, right? It's like, well, let's do it together, right? And that's why I always love bringing people together in my community, so that we energetically are in this, you know, a little portal, a little vortex of really transforming. And I think about, you know, the beauty of bringing all these letters together, which is part of what we'll be doing. The idea is we want to anonymously, or not, depending, it's sort of up to you, start to collect these letters throughout the week and create a beautiful little PDF that we will share with everyone who is part of the event as well. Because I really want you guys and to see the culmination of all of this coming together, of what it's like for us. You know, so much of the movement of feminine leadership, this whole concept of the rising of the feminine, irrespective of your gender, right, is about coming back to love. And what better way than to the love letter movement? Like, I mean, literally writing love letters to all the places that still feel wounded, that feel sort of crunchy, that feel like I don't want to really go there. And so that's what we're doing this weekend. I really hope that I keep saying weekend. It's the week, guys. It's the week. It's only Monday. So definitely join us. I'm gonna actually pop it into the comments one more time real quick so that you guys can head on over and sign up there, because it's really great. You'll also get the recording of this. And those 3 letters, you know, again, is a letter of devotion to your body, a letter of forgiveness to the masculine, and a letter of commitment to your inner little girl. And I will say initially it started really as primarily the letter of forgiveness to the masculine was the one that came through so strongly after running Trusting Our Men Again earlier this year, and getting so much response from that event. But then realizing, well, actually, you know, so much of the work that I do is one of first dropping people and getting them back into relationship and connection to their bodies, and also their inner little girl, which is so responsible for the piece around safety and power, that, you know, you can't adult. It's sort of like trying to do stuff. Like, you can't run a business, you can't have sex, you can't do anything if the kid is throwing a tantrum in the corner, right? And so if your inner little girl is, you know, threw a tantrum for a really long time and continue to not be heard, she might even be completely shut down and silent. And like, I know for many people they have this experience of like checking in and like not hearing back. Like, they try to see her, talk to her, and she's just like, meh, I'm not talking to you, silent treatment, right? And it might take, the practice might be like, okay, I have to just show up every day. You know, I'm currently, my teachers this year are John Wineland and Kendra Kunov. And, you know, the work that we do is really around the yoga of embodied relationship. That's really the container that I am a student with them in. And what comes up over and over again, and I really love this analogy, is the idea of like showing up to your mat. So with yoga, you know, it doesn't matter what type of yoga, like you just show up. Like, your work is to show up that day on the mat. It doesn't matter if you are in child's pose the entire time. And with this love letter writing, it's sort of the same thing. It's like, you know, when it comes to creating structure for this event, can you block out, here are 3 hours, one each day, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, and one on Thursday, because that's how we're going to be writing these love letters this week. Can I block out 1 hour to do this practice? And even if that means I show up to my computer or my journal and I don't have anything to say, or I have one sentence, or I realize there's so much more, can I just show up to my mat? Because that is the practice. Trying to connect with any of these pieces may take more than an hour, right? But the idea is to just start to set that foundation and that structure to show up the first time, and then potentially to show up the second time, and then the third time, and so on and so forth, right? Okay. So I talked about when you sign up what you get: videos, playlists, and journaling prompts. But I also want to say, if you are super busy and this is not the week to do this initiative for you because you're juggling a whole bunch of things, which is totally cool. One, you can still sign up and get the prompts and do it at a later date. But of course, there is something especially like potent about doing it this week when we're doing it collectively and where we are all sharing our love letters only if you want to. It's totally optional. In the private Facebook group that I have, the Embody community, which if you haven't joined yet, also make sure to join. But really the idea is to bring together, right, all these love letters into a beautiful collage and a PDF that we can then share. But if you have found, like just in listening to, today's conversation, like you maybe had a few aha moments where you realized, oh, wow, this one relationship, whether it's to my body or to my inner little girl or to the masculine there's a lot that I want to explore and uncover there, and you're really feeling excited about doing this and you feel called to do this work now. This event as a whole is one that I'm doing for the community, and my plan at the end of the week, spoiler alert, is to fill the last few spots in my one-on-one practice for the next 6 months / year. And so those spots are going to go really fast at the end of the week. If you are feeling a call to explore whether or not this is the work that you need to do next for you in your development, in your growth, in your blossoming as a woman, as a feminine leader in the world, then you can, and you don't have time to do this event this week, that's totally cool. You can just email at info@nadiamunla.com and ask to set up an exploration call. They're totally complimentary, and we get on a call and we just have a conversation to see whether or not we might be a match. And I share a little bit about, the work that I do, and we go into more detail in particular to your journey as opposed to just sort of these cookie cutter, more universal themes. But chances are one of these relationships needs a container to really, and there's something so powerful about having someone really holding you through all of this. I know, because I've been working on this for years with so many different coaches, right? And I'd love to give a shout out to all of them. And let me tell you, that list will go long and it will take like 5 minutes and everyone else will get bored. So thank you to all my teachers who have led me to doing this work. And I really do feel like these 3 letters, like I said, is sort of like the shot equivalent to showing up at the juice store. Like instead of getting the big gallon, like just taking that shot and you're like, I'm good to go. I'm doing it, honoring all the things that you do in the world as a leader, and also knowing that you've got very little time because you're super busy. So I want to feed you like the most potent shot there is, right? And this is what that is. So whether you join us for the event or whether you just want to do these practices from today, or whether you are really interested in exploring, grabbing those couple of spots that are left in my one-on-one practice, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you spent this hour with us today, hanging on Facebook. It was really cool. It's like fun to try to do a Facebook Live instead of Zoom, which is what I'm most familiar with when it comes to teaching. But I really want to say, for those of you who are joining us for the event, wherever you are is perfect. Whatever you end up writing or not writing is perfect. And really letting it be a practice is the key. And this, of course, is a guideline that you can take anywhere to anything, not just this event at all. And of course, I just love prizes and giveaways and like incentives. And so again, if you share this Facebook Live, even now, even though we're towards the end, with your group, if you feel with, and any of your friends, if on your page, if you feel like this would be valuable for other people, you automatically will get entered into a giveaway that we will be where we will be pulling some names for prizes at the end of the week. So when you join us on, so if you sign up for the event, you automatically get your name entered into the giveaway. And with that, you get like coaching with me. There's Embody at Home digital classes for you to be able to move and dance through a lot of this on your own at home. There's a few different things that we're going to give away. But then also, if you share this class right now with people that you love because you think it'll be helpful for them, then you will automatically get a second name entered into the giveaway as well. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to check in and see. A lot of people have been joining, and I haven't been able to say hi to everyone because I really wanted to make sure, again, that we got the shot in as opposed to me diluting it with saying hello. But I see you all and I love you all. And I want to take a few minutes to see if anyone might have some wrap-up questions, whether it's housekeeping stuff about the Love Letters initiative, whether it's about working with me, whether it's about any of the themes that came up, any of the messages around your relationship to your body, your connection to your inner little girl, or your relationship to the masculine. So if you guys have any questions at all, hi, Kim, let me know. And I will happily answer those in the last couple of minutes that we've got here as we wrap up. I'm going to take a quick peek to see if anyone had... So Bria says, yeah, I can so relate to the pain of holding the rage in my pelvis, and Embody has helped me release and heal so much physical representation of suppressed emotion and expression. 100%. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Bria. Yeah, even just last week, in fact, right after I wrote my letter of forgiveness to the masculine, that night I was up at 3 a.m. like bawling from pain I had in my pelvis. So this embodiment stuff is really, I mean, your body knows, Bessel van der Kolk, who's as sort of I guess, I don't know if he considers himself a trauma therapist or what exactly, but he wrote this book called The Body, Keeps Score. And that's really true. I mean, every single experience, and like I had said, not just the experience of our own lives, but the experience that our mothers and our grandmothers had is lodged and programmed into our cells, into our DNA, into our muscles, into our curvature, into how short we are, how tall we are. Like, all of this stuff is actually truly connected to your actual lived experience. So it's really, 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 really interesting how everything is so correlated. And, the upside to that is the other way around, right? It's the fact that you can also change your physiology, and as a result, change your energetic and emotional body so much. There's this guy, Stanley Kellerman, who wrote this book. He wrote many books. But the one book I'm thinking of is the emotional anatomy, just emotional anatomy. There's all these like pictures of different body types. And he talks about how like you can look at like a person with like, hunched over and know that they've had a lot of heartache. And you can look at people who are sort of dense and like shorter and it might not be like, you can say, oh, but my dad was short, or like my mom had tight hips, right? But it's like, that physical anatomy is connected to the lived experience. It might not be your lived experience, but it's sort of this back and forth, right? It's sort of like, now they know that whatever you eat will also change your genes, right? So it's like, there's a lot of back and forth that we can do. Okay. Jessica says, sounds a lot like breath work. Yeah, I mean, part of what we do here is breath work. It's not, I know there's different forms of breath work, so it's really hard to speak about it as a whole, but I myself am a Kundalini yogi, and I absolutely, breath, like I'd mentioned, the reptilian brain is, the language of the reptilian brain is one of breath and movement. And so, of course, naturally, if I'm working with helping people self-regulate and helping really have women mother their own inner little girl, breath has to be a part of the equation, right? And so it's impossible for us to try to will ourselves and mantra ourselves out of something when the reptilian brain that doesn't understand words is trying to signal like threat, threat, red flag, like, oh my God, my safety. So it's really important to note that. All right, well, it looks like no one's got any questions. Great, that means I was super clear. Again, if you want to join us this week, I would absolutely love to have you. In the comments, we've got the link several times. Instagram is telling me I have 41 seconds left, so I want to thank you all on Instagram if it chops me off before I'm completely wrapped up. Lily says, thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate everyone who joined us today, and I hope to see you on the inside with the Love Letters Initiative, or to get an email from you about possibly setting up an exploration session. And I'll post that again also in the comments, but it's just info@nadiamunla.com. Alternatively, you can just go to my website and fill out an application or contact form that way as well. That's also always an option. So Jessica shared. Thank you so much for sharing, anyone who has shared, and I will see you all really soon. Good night. What was that? What is this situation? Bye.